Thank you for your interest in the Retained Recruiter show powered by iIntro. Before the show starts, I have a small favour to ask of you. Our goal is to provide you with the most insightful, helpful and practical recruitment knowledge and know-how from the best in the recruitment industry. If you like this channel and enjoy watching our content, hit the subscribe button to get notified as soon as we upload a new episode. Thank you again, and as ever, we're rooting for your success. Now, time for the show. Hello and welcome to the Retained Recruiter show. My name is James.
And my name is Jo. Thanks very much for joining us today. And we have a very special guest today, don't we, James, which may actually prove to be slightly confusing, James.
Indeed, we do have two James. So today we're joined by James Osborne, who's the chairman and co-founder of the Recruitment Network, otherwise known as TRN, which is a leading global community supporting recruitment businesses to maximise their performance, productivity and profitability. One of the things you'll hear from James today, or you'll discover about him, he's very passionate about helping recruitment leaders and businesses unlock their full potential. And he's also, which I think is quite interesting in today's day and age, a champion of mental health in recruitment. So yeah, that's really appreciated as well. And finally, one little thing, James, before you say some words is, if all the stuff I haven't said about it was enough, you've recently completed a charity run, cycle and swim from Glasgow, Scotland to London in aid of two great charities, Great Ormond Street Hospital and Ryan's Foundation, where I think you did exceptionally well in raising a huge amount of money. So well done to you on that one.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well done. So, James, we're going to kick off. Joe's going to start with some questions, and just really, what we're really interested in today is just getting your views on the market and people listening in. We want them to, comment. If you have any comments, please put them up there. But get in touch with us as well. There's going to be various messages to get in touch. But let's kick off, Joe.
Well, good. Thanks very much for joining us, James. I think we probably could do with more than 30 minutes, but we're going to try and cram as much as we can in here. Some key things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to succeed in this market. We're going to talk a little bit about why it might not necessarily be the market that we need to focus on, but maybe how we operate within it. Core principles of today's market. And then we're going to talk about future fit readiness. So, James, you work with hundreds of recruitment businesses and you deal with hundreds of recruitment businesses. I think first of all, we're really keen to find out your feedback, your observations, I suppose, of the current market as you see it.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thank you, James. It's interesting. The market is a very typical recruitment market in that it's really unpredictable. It's up and down and it's all over the place and it's different strokes for different folks. I think, I've been in this industry for 25 plus years. We've seen this before. It's fairly typical. I think the reality and where I think the industry's gone ever so slightly wrong is for the last couple of years, we've had a bit of an economic downturn. We know the market's dropped, etc. The problem a lot of people have done is that they have waited for a bounce back. And there's still people still waiting for a bounce back to happen. The reality is the market has bounced back. It is what it is now. This is the new norm. And you need to be understanding of that. And you need to have the ability to be able to transact in this type of market. Now, markets will shift. We'll see growth in some areas. We'll see decline in other areas, etc. That will be impacted by all sorts of different things, legislation, technology, changes in behaviours, governmental shifts, some of the trade stuff that we're seeing from the US and so on and so forth. But the reality, it will go up and it will go down. It will go up and it will go down like it always does. The key now is for recruiters and recruitment businesses to understand how to transact in this type of market, as I said. And we have spent a lot of time helping recruitment businesses over the last couple of years. In part one, survive, absolutely, because they've had to rethink about their strategy, their processes and what they're doing. But then part two is thrive, because you can only stay in survival mode for so long. And there's a reality, there's a hell of a lot of recruiters, recruitment company owners out there who are just knackered at the moment because it's just been a long journey of waiting for something to happen whilst we're surviving to go through it. And I think you can only do that for so long. I think your business can only last for so long if you do that. So this is now about set your stall up to make sure you can absolutely survive and now thrive. Now it's about accelerating. It's about moving forward. It's about understanding how to do well in this type of market. So I can't predict the market. My only prediction is it's going to be volatile as it has been for the last 20 years.
Dave, you talk about the new norm, because everybody just gets sidelined and think, oh, this is going to go on forever. It doesn't. So what are your views on the new norm? You say this is the new norm. What does that how do you see that in the market?
So I was at an event last week we had about 60 or 70 other members over down in the West Country, and we were talking around, well, one of the first things we were talking about some of the principles of recruitment. Yeah. And the fundamental fact is the core principles of how recruitment companies run, how recruiters do things has not changed, and I don't think will change. It's the wrapping of how we do it is changing, and that's the bit we need to understand. So we talk a lot about some of the basic stuff. In recruitment, if you want to do sales effectively, you've got to be visible. You've got to be out in front of your customers. You can't be transactional. You have to be transformational. You have to have a position in people's boardrooms rather than just in their meeting rooms. That hasn't changed. We were talking about that 25 years ago. Yeah. How we get into someone's boardroom, however, has changed today. The products, the relationships we have with our customers. We talked a lot about productivity and efficiency in recruitment. So don't work on rubbish jobs with rubbish clients in a relationship where they don't really value you. We were talking about that 25 years ago. Now it's even more important than today. How you get those products to market and those types of products is different. We talked about the other day, had a long conversation around business development and how the way people buy has changed. I mean, it's just simple as that. But yeah, I'm not convinced many recruitment companies or all recruitment companies have necessarily adapted to the new ways of buying. So we're selling in the old way that we used to do. The principles are still the same, but the wrapping is different. So for me, the new norm is actually the old norm. It's just wrapped up in a very, very different way. And I think when people understand that, they get really excited about it. The only caveat you have to put into that are things like AI and technology, because it has a massive impact on the way we run our business, the way we're treated, the way people perceive us, the way that people perceive the future of talent. And you need to understand that in a recruitment business. Where it goes wrong, there's a lot of people playing with AI at the moment. So we're training up hundreds of recruiters to play with AI and stuff. I don't want recruiters touching AI at all. It's another distraction from their day job. I want them to stay focusing on what they're good at. But you need to have underpinning your business is a very clearly and deliberate AI strategy that is driving increase in efficiency, productivity, and performance. So the new norm is the old norm, just wrapped differently.
I think if I could just sort of carry on there as well. I think I've heard you talk about this one as well, James. So this should be a nice, easy softball for you to come at you. I think a lot of the time at the moment, over previous years, recruiters have stopped selling and spent too much time doing work which keeps them busy. And it's a question of recruitment leaders understanding where things like AI can actually add value to the business by taking away and releasing the recruiter. You said to do what they're good at. The problem is, are they as good at selling, which is their role, to get out there in front of client opportunities, or not? So what are your thoughts on how recruiters spend their time and where they should spend their time?
Yeah, we have a very simple 80-20 rule. So if you think traditionally 80% of the workload is administration stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's administrating the process. And that includes sales, marketing, delivery, and everything else. 20% of the time is the bit that actually adds the most value, which is the face-to-face stuff, the human stuff that we do. With tech and AI and some of the things that we've been certainly enabling with some of the members, is that you can actually shift that 80-20 to a 20-80. So 20% now of a workload is actually the administrative side, powered by AI, powered by technology, which frees up 80% of your time to go and do the human stuff. So the great thing about technology, what it does, it actually creates the ability to be more human, which is superb. Now that is an opportunity like no other before, and I think that's really, really exciting. But it then does create one significant issue or challenge for some businesses, is that if I give all these guys and girls an extra 80% time to go and be more visible and go and do all the sales stuff that we talk about, we know is really important. A, do they know how to do it? B, do they actually want to do it? And did they sign up to this in the first place? And that is a question mark that we've seen over the last 18 months. And that's why a lot of businesses have downsized their staff, because actually they've realized over time, over the last 18 months, by accident almost, or by the situation they were facing, that we just don't quite necessarily have the right skill sets within our business for different reasons. That is now changing significantly. So the people we're hiring into the industry are different now. The skills we're training them on are different now. And it means we're going back into the old norm. It's like when I was in recruitment, it's always been a sales industry. We're now talking about sales again as if it's the most important part of recruitment. Brilliant, but let's do it properly. Let's do the proper sales strategic process rather than just sort of throw a bunch of KPIs at it and hope people want to sign up for it and do it, which I don't think is necessarily the case.
You mentioned earlier on a great phrase that I want to pick up on. So going from transactional to transformational, and I think that's great, and I think that's really inspirational thing for people to hold on to. What sort of practical things could businesses do if they feel as if they're maybe watching this and they are maybe stuck in transactional mode? What sort of things would you suggest that they start thinking about if they want to make that move to being more transformational, more consultative with their clients and candidates?
I came out of a board meeting this morning. I was touching on this earlier on with you guys. I came out of a board meeting this morning, and one of the questions that the MD says to his consultants is, when you're sitting in front of a customer, what is it that you are doing for your customer that they can't do themselves? And it's a really important question when you sort of think about it, especially in the day and today with AI and tech and access to LinkedIn and everything else that everyone else has got access to. So it's a really important question. And we, as an industry, we've always called ourselves recruitment consultants. So how do you engage with your customers on a different level, in a different relationship? And consultancy is a big part of that. So our ability to go into a customer and consult with them, challenge with them. There was a report by, I think it was the World Employment Federation, that talked about 82%, I think it is, something of CEOs of businesses, not recruitment companies, but businesses, are trying to basically figure out what the hell to do with regards to their talent strategy. They don't know what to do. They're trying to work their head around it. They get the idea, I should be looking at agents maybe, but I don't know how to actually do that. I don't know what the future looks like. Should it be more contract or perm or free? They are literally stuck. So this is such an exciting opportunity for the recruitment industry to demonstrate they actually are consultants, and go and consult with your customer base, challenge the thinking, go on a journey with them, 12, 18-month partnership to support them in this talent journey. Not just about recruitment, it's about engagement, it's about performance, it's about retention, it's about the whole piece. It's about how do I deploy AI agents within my business structure, my org chart, alongside people. We need to be having these conversations now because your customers are asking for it. And if they don't get the answer from you, they'll go somewhere else and get it, which is why we're seeing that classic, beautiful white space between the big consultancy firms and recruitment companies. That bit in the middle, which is sort of recruitment consultancy, is now a white space that's been waiting to be tapped into. And there's a lot of recruiters and recruitment businesses who are getting this now, and they are literally taking market share, which is brilliant. Taking it from the top, taking it from other recruiters. So I think there's a play there for me around your positioning with your customers and becoming truly consultative. Again, do we have the skills to be able to do that? Do we know how to do it, et cetera, et cetera? That's the training piece. That's the question mark. But that's exciting, I think, really exciting.
I remember sorry, Joe, after you.
I was just going to say, actually, you mentioned earlier on about, most things are cyclical, aren't they? All you've got to just look at fashion. Things come round every sort of, every 10 to 15
Not my fashion, clearly, but yeah.
That's just evergreen. It's evergreen, Jay.
Thank you.
And I wonder the way, with what you were saying then, and again, agree 100% that you are their expert, their chosen recruitment advisor. And I remember starting in recruitment and being told that, it's not just about sending CVs to clients and filling jobs. It's about enabling the growth of their business through being an expert partner, someone who can advise and educate and work with them and support their business through all those things that you just said. So again, I wonder, are we going full circle again? Are we going back to not the olden days, but what used to be our normal for many of us?
Well, we probably are. It's a valid point, Joe. We probably are. But there's a reality that AI, we have to look at what AI is doing to our industry and what it's doing to the whole talent conundrum. Because by simple default, without focusing on anything, AI's job is to take administrative tasks and automate them and get agentic AI to basically run those for us, whether it be automation AI, agentic, or whatever it doesn't mean. It's about taking stuff which is fairly administrative and removing that from people's day jobs. So by default, if as a recruiter, you are very administrative, you have to question whether your job's going to be in need. And it's going to be, I'm not saying you're going to be necessarily made obsolete, but it's going to be bloody hard to convince the customers to pay you a 23-24% margin fee to do something that they could possibly do themselves or get an agentic to do. So we have to be doing things differently, and we have to be moving up the food chain if you want to be able to justify your worth. Now, don't get me wrong, markets will shift next week, next month in certain areas. We'll see an uptick, we'll see a demand, like we've always seen in these cycles, and people will go, oh, it's okay, this AI stuff doesn't matter because actually the market's busy again and we're making places. And we're seeing that already today. This current quarter is looking good for a lot of people, which is great. I question whether it's a real economy or it's a false economy. And my concern is if we just go back into let's just administrate now and do nothing else and just make as much cash as we can before Christmas type thing, I think we might get this wrong. However, if we do two things, which is administer the hell out of it, make the cash, close deals, do the good stuff and help our customers whilst they need them now, but at the same time, set our stall out ready for 2026, then I think we're in a really, really smart positioning here. And I think this is really interesting. I don't think you could do one or the other. If you do the former, then I think you're missing the opportunity. If you're doing the latter, you probably won't make any money this quarter and you probably run out of cash. So you've got to find that fine balance.
I remember, again, just going back to the conversation there about consultancy. And it's one of those things where the misnomer, I was really proud when I got my first job in recruitment. I remember going home with my business card. I remember those days when you had business cards. It said recruitment consultant, which you sort of showed to your mum or whoever. I was young, so I showed it to my mum. And that's sort of proud. But then the word slipped into recruiters, and that's where I think this transactional element where people just started to effectively just regenerate CVs from whichever data source they had access to. And what we're trying to do now, James, I think, is go back into that role where we are consultative and putting the consultant work back into that. And one of the expressions that Joe and I use in our training programs that we run is, we tell people, listen, if you're a recruiter, you're replaceable because all you're doing is just regenerating CVs or resumes from where they are. If you're a management consultant who specializes in talent acquisition, you can add value back to the client service. And it's about how you demonstrate that in those particular areas. So what are your views on what the core principles might be for recruiters as they move forward and look at, as I say, to take that journey from transactional to transformational? What type of things should they look to insert into their business?
Yeah, can I just put one caveat with this, because I think this is important, because, and please don't think I'm suggesting this is you by any means, I'm just talking just generally about the industry. There's a lot of people now trying to sell a lot of things back to the industry, and we're over sensationalizing what the hell's going on. So people have got AI tools and et cetera, saying, unless you use this tomorrow, you'll be dead tomorrow and obsolete.
I've seen those adverts as well. They're not mine.
No, they're definitely not yours. But but we're seeing this everywhere. So let's not over sensationalize this. And the reality is, I've been in numerous meetings last week with recruitment businesses who are being very transactional, but in a very, very good way, very professional way, and they're turning stuff around in markets where there is absolute huge amounts of demand and growing demand. And there's some markets at the moment which the investment in going into those markets is exponential, and it's creating so much need and demand. It's unbelievable. So you can literally just carry on doing what we've always done for 25 years and you'll still make a lot of money. So let's not say that's all wrong. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But there are parts of the market and markets which need more than that now. And the closer we can get to those and the more we can lock in is important. So I think we just need to be careful we don't over sensationalize this. You can carry on doing what you're doing, you'll be fine in some parts, not everywhere. But then the other part really is about how do you, and I think to your question was basically, how do you necessarily become transformational? Is that your piece?
Yeah, what are the core principles that people need to adopt in terms of to sort of position themselves with potential clients?
Yeah, well, I go back into, and again, I don't know if this is going left field, but I'm not a huge, massive fan of a 360 recruitment model necessarily in some businesses. I think it works fine, and especially if you're a solo or a small business, you have to have that sort of model. As a growing business, I quite like the idea of having a collection of people who are proper consultative salespeople. So I don't think everyone can do it. That's the reality. Who are proper consultative salespeople who can go into companies and sit there with a blank piece of paper and say, I think you're wrong. I'm going to show you some data to talk about why I think you're wrong. Let's now together come up with something that will show the way forward. That's a skill. That's hard skill. Not everyone will ever have that skill. So I quite like the idea of in your business, you need to have that within your business. Could you train up all of your recruiters to do that, sit in people's board meetings with confidence and be able to challenge a CEO? No, of course you can't do that, especially as a big chunk of our industry is quite junior and quite young. They wouldn't have the confidence to be able to do that, or even the stripes or the right to do it. So I think there's that whole piece around true consultative solution selling, whatever that is. One of the things that we've spoken a lot about, and we've spoken about it, James, about that whole productization piece, about taking to market a suite of products that solve your customers' problems. That's a really important play here. So in order to be able to go to market with a suite of products that solve their problem, you need to be able to unearth what their problems are. And in many cases, especially as we're seeing with the data, your customers don't actually know what their problems are. So we need to help them with that piece. That's an art. I don't think everyone's got that art.
Yeah, and I also think a lot of the times when, businesses, and not recruitment businesses, but businesses aren't experts in recruitment. They don't recruit. They do, finance or logistics or whatever it is that they do within their industry sector. And so I think also sometimes as recruiters, we maybe take it for granted that clients know what they want and they know how they want it to be done, but that's not necessarily the most efficient and effective way for them to recruit and retain staff for their businesses. And so that piece you were saying there about being able to go in and, ask really good questions, diagnose, the client might not know what the problem is, but they might know they've got symptoms, and it might be hurting in parts of their business. And that's a real skill.
Yes, it's a massive skill. I know I have a finance director in my business because she's an expert in finance and she will advise me accordingly. If I just want someone to run Xero reports for me, I could probably work that out myself. I can work it out myself and click a button on Xero every month to get a set of management accounts. But I don't need that. I've got that. That's the system. I need someone to then say, well, therefore, the so what, etc. Same with my marketing, same with everything in the business. So nothing's different from that whatsoever. I suppose the one big difference with all of this is sometimes we lose sight of the importance of people in business. And at the moment, everyone's talking around what is the significant role a person plays in a company moving forward, because AI agents, etc. Are they more important than people moving forward? And you'll talk to some people in America who are spouting AI all over the place. Well, yeah, absolutely. You don't need people anymore. It's all about AI agents. That's not true. We know it's not. AI is there to augment people and make them better at their job and do what they're doing. So we need to help our customers navigate this journey going forward. As much as I'm doing this now, I'm helping recruitment organizations understand what their org chart needs to look like tomorrow, how they maximize net contribution, efficiency, productivity per recruiter to get their average GP up from 140 to 240, etc. So I'm doing that job to our industry. We should be doing that to our markets exactly the same way. And support them on that journey, because the one thing that recruiters have got that better than anybody else is every single day they speak to thousands and thousands of people in a certain market, in a particular niche. They know what is going on. They know more about sentiment and insights over data every day of the week. And sentiment and insights will determine what people will do tomorrow, less so than the data.
Yeah. And I think that's where people, as I said, people are just getting blinded by AI and overlooking the human impact. I think when we bring it back around to business as well, that sales, it's all to do with the activity that, efficiency for the admin task. I mean, that's where AI can take that away. But that, like I said, sentiment that comes from the interaction of a human being with another human being, those things can't necessarily be measured in that particular way. So what are your thoughts in terms of organizations who need to get out there and be a little bit more active? Because the trends are the trend that we need to reverse, I think, is because people became lazy. I think business came to people not long after COVID, for example, but now you've got to get back out there and build up those activity levels, which some people are. I think they need to do. We're still in the people business, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I mean, lazy is a bit of a harsh word, James. I think, but I think
sometimes.
Yeah, no, I think we can be a little bit complacent. I think it's probably the reality, and I think we just got really, really busy doing something that was working. So in the post-COVID boom, you woke up in the morning, you sneezed, you made a placement. It wasn't that, and I'm not belittling what a recruiter did, by the way, in that post-COVID boom. We worked hard. But the reality is it was a lot easier to business was coming to us. So we just didn't need to do BD. The problem with that is as soon as the market softened or changed slightly, you suddenly need to do BD. And sadly, BD you don't turn it on tomorrow and the next day you've got 350 grand's worth of pipelines ready to close. So it's a nurturing process. It's an engine, it's a machine, and so on and so forth. So I think the piece around visibility is critical. I can show you 1,000 examples of recruitment businesses and recruiters, individual recruiters, who are doing really well at the moment because their one obsession over the last 12 to 18 months as the market softened was to double up on their visibility. So spend more time in front of their markets, in front of their network, in front of their customer base. So that was absolutely key. And they're sitting pretty because of that, or prettier because of that. So that principle needs to come back in for everyone. You've got to get out in front of your customers. So then the question then, and we're doing a lot of work on this, we've got a great playbook, which I'm happy to share with anyone listening today if they want a copy of our BD playbook that we created, which is all about like a channel strategy of how to do so. And the most important question in that BD's playbook is basically, what is the compelling reason for an ICP, an ideal customer profile, or a target customer to want to have a meeting with you tomorrow? Okay, we talk about why we want to have meetings because it's a KPI and we know we can convert. Irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. What's the compelling reason for that ICP to want to have a meeting with you? And if you really think about that question, it's like a very simple question, but you really think about it, you can come up with 101 different reasons, and those 101 different reasons become your top of the funnel sales strategy, your marketing strategy, your RevOps strategy. And that is the difference. That works. And it's not complicated. It's really not complicated, this. We overthink this sometimes. You don't need to. It works. And that's the bit. If we get that piece right, we've seen an uptick, a significant uptick in visibility, client meetings, which does a couple of things. Humanizes recruitment, really important, a USP in comparison to other stuff that's out there. And secondly, what does it do? We know the more meetings you have, the more conversions you're going to make. A customer's not going to meet with you, probably, unless they probably have some form of need or an opportunity. Let's be honest about it. They wouldn't bother. So that to me is critical.
Yeah.
I think one of the things there that you see is that, what you talk about there is what's in it for me. And if you do it from a recruiter perspective, what's in it for me, you're going to fail. If you think about what's in it for them, why am I there trying to encourage them to sort of want to spend time with me? I think that's where it brings it out. And one of the things Joe and I talk a lot about is, when a client agrees to a meeting with you, they're not, they're tacitly telling you, I do have a challenge. You're going to have to discover it a little bit more. You're going to have to work for it. But I'm not going to meet you, because there are very few organizations who wake up today and think, I'm going to see a recruiter today just for the hell of it.
Yeah. And it's looking for a job.
Persuaded them. Something in your top of funnel activity has driven them through to that particular point where they have a meeting. You've got to. Joe and I say this all the time. You've got to treat that meeting like gold dust. Treat like your life depends on it, because there's an opportunity there.
Well, exactly. Think of it from a scale point of view. So you have a client who might meet you probably because they're just bored or they're looking for another job for themselves. Okay, that's one end of the spectrum. You've got a client at the other end who's got a very clear need right here, right now, and they need to bring you in to go and fill that need. And there's all the bits in the middle, and the bits in the middle demonstrate how good you are as a salesperson. So if a client is meeting you because they've just got a little bit of an interest about a particular thing and they're just trying to figure it out, our ability to take that tiny little nugget and convert it into a proper conversation, into a challenging question, into a proposal is like the art of sales, the art of recruitment sales. If a client brings you in purely to say, I've got a job, here's the job brief, your ability to challenge that job brief and unearth 5 other jobs that sit around that, or say, you don't need one of those, you actually need 3 of these instead, or whatever. That is the art of sales. And I think the sooner we get that back in, whatever that meeting is, anything outside of that, just not interested. But that's the bit to me. If you get those meetings, you're on that scale, and then it's about how good are you at converting it somewhere along that scale.
Absolutely. And I'm amazed the amount of recruitment businesses and consultants that I speak to who are they're just not doing meetings. They're probably taking the job order via an email or via a portal of some description. The question that you asked, you were talking about before, so what compelling reason would a client have to meet with me? It is such a simple question, but it takes you back to the absolute essence of what it is you're doing for a living. Why, isn't it? Why are you doing what you're doing? What's your identity? What do you believe you're doing as a recruitment consultant? And back to that whole idea of, do I fill jobs, or do I send CVs, or actually am I a problem solver? And I notice that a lot with recruiters when we're training them, that once their identity or their idea of what their identity is changes from, I'm trying to get jobs from people who don't want to give them to me, to most businesses in the UK have some kind of problem with their recruitment that I could help them with. They get this kind of fire in their belly of, let me speak to people. I want to talk to people. I want to ask them questions. I want to find out how I could help. So that identity piece is really key. And you've spoken about that earlier on as well. You've spoken about sort of value proposition and differentiating yourself. And I know one of the things that we touched on when we've spoken previously is about being future ready and making sure that you're future fit. And I'm assuming, that type of stuff is in there. But what's your idea of what a business would need to do to become future ready?
Yeah, well, it's less about being future ready. It's what we call future relevant, actually, because I think most businesses are ready and they're just not necessarily relevant. So they're doing stuff fine. So we have 2 concurring things running at the moment, 2 programs running with the members. We have a thing called being a future relevant recruitment business, and we have how to be a future fit recruiter within that business. So different skills, different habits, different behaviors, different KPIs, different measurements, different commission structures, let's be honest, because we're still using the same obsolete commission structures from 25 years ago that we nicked from our old company when we set up our recruitment business. And funnily enough, actually, we're not making the same amount of money anymore out of those commissions. So what's going on there? So it's about future fit from that point of view. And then the future relevant piece is positioning our businesses to be relevant. You talked about that piece around, about recruiting. It's about recruitment. It's not about recruitment anymore. It's about talent. And talent, I've got a very good checklist, which I'm happy to share with all your people listening in today if they want a copy of this, is a list of all the things, the challenges and issues that our customers are facing to do with talent. It's a massive list. And it's not just recruitment's one thing on there. There's 100 other things on there. So you just specking out a great candidate to me tomorrow is not going to solve the other 99 things on my list. Yeah. And actually, if those 90 things on my list are more priority right now, then that's it. So for me, future relevancy is having a different strategy to go to market, a different relationships with your customers. I say different, maybe an enhanced in some cases, and an enhanced product suite that is actually solving the problems they're going to be facing tomorrow as much as this sort of the issues they're facing today. And they're different problems, they're different challenges, stroke different opportunities.
Well, listen, we've had a little bit of a whirlwind there, James. And I mean this as a true compliment. I think I'm a fast talker, but oh boy, you went into 30 minutes there, and we do appreciate you spending your time, because I know you're in the middle of a very busy day down there in London. So thank you so much for your time, James.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Joe, anything to wrap up with?
Well, do you know what? I think we could talk to you all day. But everything that you said is so relevant, and definitely something that, I think what would be inspiring to people listening, which is great. And we're seeing you face to face, aren't we, in a couple of weeks as well in Leeds. I know not everyone can get there, but if you are around, we have a great event on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, please do come and see us in Leeds, and we'll spend the morning talking about how to develop, and we'll go into the detail of how to build a sort of a future relevant business as much as anything else. But I'll go back to one point, if I may. We talked about before. This is not about sensationalizing this. This is not about saying that the industry's buggered. It's not. It's just the market is what it is. Let's now figure out the right way to transact in this type of market. That's the actual key, I think, as much as anything else.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know that you also run, we're doing this event in partnership with you, James, in a couple of years' time. But you run a number of these around the country, so people should really check out your website for other activities. But listen, on behalf of everyone listening today and everybody who's going to listen in the future, because obviously we do share this around the world, we really do appreciate your time. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. And it's goodbye from James. Thank you, James.
Goodbye. Thanks, everyone.